So when I first came down with debilitating, crippling anxiety when I was 21, I went to the psychology clinic at the University of Montreal, and I had 2 therapists there. And I have to honestly say that they made my anxiety much, much worse. And this is why. First, I had a cognitive behavioral therapist, and it was very difficult for me because I had to be honest and vulnerable about anything she wanted to ask me. You know, she asked me really personal questions that seemed to have no relevance to my anxiety, but she had the right to ask them, and I felt that I had to answer them. You know, so there was like a vulnerability gap, there was an honesty gap. You know, I didn't have to reveal anything about herself. I knew nothing about her. Does she have a boyfriend? Does she have, like, what's her family like? Does she have anxiety? It's almost like she was putting up this wall. Like, she had all this makeup. She was acting in a very stiff fashion. So, you know, she was projecting a lot of her stuff out there, but wasn't being honest about it. And so, you know, this lack of honesty and transparency and this vulnerability gap made me feel very, very uncomfortable. And how can we find a solution to anything if we're uncomfortable? Right? The second reason why she made it worse was that she gave me all these disorders. You know, I had social anxiety disorder. I had performance anxiety disorder, right? Like, I had these disorders, and instead of helping me recover from these disorders, it's like she put me in a box and she pushed me deeper and deeper into the box. You know, instead of giving me real solutions that would have helped me empower me and embrace my strengths and, you know, find the strength to overcome this shit, she focused on my thoughts, you know, my unhelpful, intrusive thoughts. She focused on my anxiety symptoms themselves. And whatever you focus on becomes worse, right? So she she both pried into vulnerable things in my past that had no relevance to my anxiety. You know, she wasn't using her intuition to figure out what questions would actually help me, right? No, she pried into all my personal stuff. And she made me focus and obsess about my thoughts and my anxiety symptoms themselves, in essence, making them worse. Okay? So that didn't help. And I thought, well, maybe it's the therapist. I didn't even know that there was different branches of psychology. So I asked to transfer. And then I got with this woman who was doing psychoanalysis, and she hardly said a whole word the whole session. I was just supposed to talk and talk and talk, and it was brutally uncomfortable, you know, just sitting in front of this woman and just being required to talk. Like, that was so unhelpful. And just the powerlessness of, like, I'm trying to do something for this problem, and there's no solutions. Like, these women are not giving me solutions. It made me feel more and more powerless and hopeless, like there was no solution out there. I then had to drop out of university because both of these anxieties got so bad. And then I went to a therapist in Calgary where my parents were living, and she basically recommended medications. So then I went to the doctor and tried different medications, and none of them worked. They didn't work at all. They didn't actually help me solve the problem, right? And so I tried both psychology and psychiatry. They didn't work for me. And I knew that by living with my parents and working or somehow trying to push through university was not the solution. So I became an au pair, a nanny, in 5 different European countries because I wasn't scared of children. So I was able to interact with children and somehow tolerate their parents and kind of interact a bit with other nannies, but there was no connection happening. I was basically terrified once we saw each other the second time. So finally, when I was 26 years old, 25 to 26, I went and spent a year in Hungary to learn Hungarian. It was like I was trying to find my solutions by learning different languages, learning about different cultures. It's like I knew, like, the solution has got to be out there somewhere, right? So I went to Hungary and I found a friend who could help me. See, he had the same personality type as me, but no social anxiety. He had already made many close friends, and he was able to teach me how to truly connect with someone. You know, we had a friendship that, you know, where we were trusting each other. He taught me how to trust him. He was completely honest with me. He was open-minded with me. He was respectful with me. And he was showing love towards me, right? All the things that heal, right? He taught me how to be honest, how to say what I really feel and think. So by embracing love and honesty and seeing how powerful that was as I was interacting with him, made me be able to apply these same concepts to everyone else I met. You know, I started making new friends, and I started applying these concepts in all different kinds of relationships, you know, with my professors or with other students, with the person in the store, right? Like just love them and just be your honest self as much as you can, right? And that was what set off the process of recovery. And then in my 30s, I got postpartum anxiety, anger, and my generalized anxiety got really, really bad. I didn't know what was happening to me, but what I did know was that therapy and medication hadn't helped me. So I was back in Canada, and I didn't have enough mother friends. And so my nanny was a lot like me, my part-time nanny who was leaving. And so I became good friends with her and her other nanny friend. And it was my friendship with them that helped me overcome it. However, I still had some generalized anxiety, so I started to research what really causes anxiety and depression, and where do the solutions lie. And I did some really big picture research, you know, a lot of sociology and social sciences that really look at the big picture. And what these social sciences were pointing to was that the solution to anxiety and depression was connection, right? Real connection, the kind that had helped me, as well as freedom from the societal beliefs and expectations that are making us feel like we're not good enough. And that is also what my friends had done to help me. And so then I was 36 and I discovered coaching, and it was just the exact profession that had been built for me, right? It's equal, it's honest, you know, two-way honesty between the coach and the client. It focuses on our strengths, believing that we are good enough, right? And it's also solution-oriented. It believes that anxiety and depression has a cause, right? That there's a reason why we have anxiety and depression, and therefore it believes that there is a solution out there for us. So that's what made me decide to become a coach, was to be able to help people using love and honesty and using the strength of connection and freedom in order to help them free themselves from their anxiety and depression. So I hope you found this helpful. I really truly believe that it is equal, honest connection, focusing on our strengths and believing that we are good enough and that there is a solution out there for us, that this is the best approach to overcome anxiety and depression. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.